Hello everyone, welcome back to the Has-Beens. This is Matt Burton here,
This is Braden Lara.
and first week done, college football. First week is in the books. It actually felt really good to have college football back. It just felt right.
Possibly the best. Maybe you feel differently, but possibly the best opening weekend in college football ever.
It was. I'm an OU fan.
Matchup wise.
I'm an OU fan, but yes, matchup wise, it was good to see great teams play against great teams. And that brings me to the first game, the OU Houston game.
What are your thoughts on it, Matt?
OU and Houston. I have a lot of thoughts on it. It all starts from. I think it starts from Bob Stoops, man. I am tired of going into these big games, having high hopes, and then just them getting crushed. All in one fell swoop. You know, it's like it's like after that Boise State game, every single time we get into a big game, that's not at home. Every time we get into a big game, that's not at home. It's like there's this thought creeping in the back of your mind as an OU fan that we're probably going to lose this. If the momentum shifts one time, we're probably going to lose this. And it's sad to think that. I mean, it's sad because it's becoming a habit.
Mm-hmm.
It's becoming a habit, and when something becomes a habit, you got to get off it. You got to get off it, and you got to cut it from its core. And I think that is
you gotta kick
Bob
that.
Stoops.
You gotta kick that.
No, okay, but yeah, you got to cut it from its core. I mean, I hate to say, because Bob Stoops, one of the best coaches, but I think when it's run its course, man. And there's obvious problems on defense with Mike Stoops. Obvious problems, especially against a quarterback who can run. You saw in the first half, they were respecting the run a little too much and not getting any pressure on the quarterback. They were sending 3 guys, but halfway sending them. They weren't getting any pressure at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was just respect to Greg Ward Jr.'s running game. And, man, ever since, we have never been able to stop a running quarterback. Ever. And Mike Stoops does great whenever we have to play a quarterback who just stands in the pocket. Does great. Awesome.
Yeah.
But that's starting to become less and less now. You're starting to see less of those quarterbacks that just stand in the pocket and just pass it. They're not 2-dimensional. They're just 1-dimensional. But it's sad for me to say that. It's sad for me to say that Bob Stoops should go. But I think when it's run its course, and I would hire Tom Herman immediately.
So you have the same view on Bob Stoops as Skip Bayless, pretty much.
I haven't heard what he said.
Oh, he's been saying it past few years, but mostly just that how Stoops is a great recruiter. You can get those athletes, but he says like great recruiter, poor motivator.
Where are they? I haven't seen them. I see all the stars next to their names, but they're not playing like it.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. I think I was thinking about this the other day. I think the Stoops brothers, mainly Bob, have kind of gone Hollywood. I think if you look at historically, some of the best players that OU has had have all been from the state of Oklahoma. They've all kind of been overlooked everywhere else. You got Curtis Lofton, Rocky Calamus, Teddy Lehman, Jason White, Sam Bradford. Ryan Broyles.
Yeah.
Sam Bradford was only like a 3-star recruit. It's just, and then now I don't even know how many guys we have from Oklahoma. Sometimes you got to go back to the root and get some guys that know what it means to play for OU.
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
Instead, we're going to all these guys that fit the dimensions of these players nowadays. They fit the 6'5", 300-pound lineman, all this stuff. But sometimes they just don't have the motor,
Yeah.
And I think if you get some guys in that just, at least knows what it takes to play and what it means to play for OU, I think you'd start seeing so much improvement. And yeah, I just think they've gone Hollywood almost.
I didn't actually get to see any of the game because I was up in Stillwater pretty early for the OSU game, so I was just kind of picking up on it. We were tailgating, and so I'd catch glimpses of it, but I didn't watch too much of it. The first drive, I just gotten parked and was walking to the tailgate spot I looked at my phone because it was like the time was like 11. The game would have just started, and I see OU's already up a touchdown.
Yeah, and
So I'm thinking-
that first drive looked so easy. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, offensive line looks great, awesome, because P. Ryan broke for like a 20-yard run,
Mhm.
and then Mixon finishes off with a 32-yard touchdown run. I was like, great, offensive line solved. Now let's see what the defense has, and they didn't have it.
Yeah, and then so just the few glimpses I saw. I mean, I saw Mixon catching, running, doing all of it, and they looked fine. I saw Houston wasn't getting the touchdowns in the red zone. They were kind of doing the field goals, so that made me wonder if that would come back to bite them. Trading field goals for touchdowns. But I didn't see it, so I can't really give a good review of it. It just sounds like, from what I've heard, that that maybe Baker didn't play too hot. No, I'm not just singling him out, but that's what I heard from Bob at his press conference, is what a lot of the writers were saying, how he was kind of talking about Baker. I heard the defense played pretty well in the second half.
Second half defense was better because they finally started sending guys.
Yeah.
Finally started getting some pressure on the quarterback,
So
which was not there in the first half.
Yeah. I mean, as an OU fan, it's obviously disappointing, but you're definitely not over. As we're watching this Ole Miss Florida game right now, if Florida loses, that's 3 of the top 5 that could go down the first weekend, which means next weekend they could happen again and so forth. So OU's not out of it, and I'm interested to see how they'll respond. Especially with Ohio State coming up.
I think you're being incredibly nice, and I don't like it because you shouldn't be incredibly nice. Because I think Ohio State comes into Norman and beats us by about 4 touchdowns. I think so. You asked me to pick. You asked me to do a way too early prediction. And I said, disclaimer. Let me see how the Houston game goes. And I have said that if we lose to Houston, we'll lose to Ohio State too. I think Ohio State comes into Norman and beats us by at least 4 touchdowns, and makes us like it.
Bold statement.
But hey, based off what's going on here, what just went on? I mean, you're crazy to think. You're crazy to think, and you're a homer if you think otherwise.
Yeah. Well, I can see the pessimism, but it's Houston. They're not a pushover, especially this year.
Exactly, and that's what
Were you just disappointed in the way the outcome came about? I mean, obviously you don't like the loss, but was it just the effort thing you didn't like, or the coaching?
I think it was a little of both. I mean, you think you got things figured out, especially on the first drive. Boom, offense scores in like 5 plays, makes it look easy. And then the rest of the game, our offensive line is getting torn apart by an 18-year-old true freshman at defensive tackle.
Really?
He's like 5-star recruit. He's like one of their top recruits.
Yeah.
But our offensive line is just getting torn apart by him. And then the defense, specifically the secondary. And I tweeted that it made me wish that we had Zach Sanchez back. That's how bad it was. Because Sanchez would at least come up with an interception.
Yeah.
After getting burned 10 times. These guys are just getting burned. Like, it's terrible, man. It was awful to watch. The receivers were open by 10 yards every time.
Really?
I mean, it wasn't even contested. I mean, I think I could have played quarterback for Houston that game. They were that wide open. It was crazy. But like I was telling Rundle earlier, like all this like sounds crazy. Like we're terrible, whatever. I honestly just think we have to chalk it up to Houston being that good. I think they were that good. And I think that OU was not ready for how good they are.
Houston's kind of taking that new Boise State role. How Boise State was in the mid-2000s, late 2000s. Like, you think just because of the conference they're in, they might not bring it, but they got that talent. They got that Texas talent. They've been recruiting well. Herman's got his offense going fine. That's why it's, I can definitely see the disappointment from an OU point of view. But it was Houston. It was in Houston. I'll be really interested to see how OU responds because we saw how they responded after the Texas game last year. They just played really angry. Only difference is, at the Texas game, they had challenging games coming up, but they didn't have Ohio State coming up. So
there's a legitimate chance that OU could start off 1-4.
Who's the?
Because you go Louisiana Monroe, win should be. Who knows now? Then you go Ohio State at home, TCU, and then Texas.
I was at TCU, man. Okay. That's
You could legitimately start off 1-4. An OU team legitimately starting off 1-4, and that's the problem. If we want to start, like, if that's going to be the standard,
Mhm.
like if we're going to be just okay with being like 10-2, okay with being 9-3, okay with being 8-4, like that's not going to cut it at OU.
Yeah.
That's not going to cut it. And Stoops has honestly kind of been getting a free ride almost this entire time, like since the Sam Bradford days. He's kind of been getting a free ride for, I mean, Landry Jones put up crazy numbers,
Mm-hmm.
but never won like a game that counted.
Yeah.
In fact, he had to get subbed out a bunch so Blake Bell could go in and get a first down.
True.
I mean, it's like you're one of the best statistical quarterbacks in OU history, and you can't get a first down. That's how bad it is. We have to bring in Blake Bell to run it for a first down. I don't know. I just think there's problems. I think that they've gone Hollywood, and I think that our standards have lowered, which is bad for OU. I think, hey, if they want to just come out and say, and save us all the heartbreak, and come out and say, hey, we're gonna be okay with a 9-3.
Yeah.
We're gonna be okay with that. We're okay with 8-4. That's not okay. It doesn't work at OU. It may be fine somewhere else. Maybe fine at West Virginia.
I was about to say OSU.
Yeah. Maybe fine at Oklahoma State. I don't know.
Get better, okay?
No, I'm just saying that's like it may be fine at those other schools, but
Yeah.
those other schools
Those
don't
other
have this
schools are
name.
top
They don't
five, I
have
agree.
they don't have that brand. They don't have all the things that OU has, man. So I don't know, man. It's just I know I'm like jumping ship too early. I know it's just the first week. I mean they could beat Ohio State. They could go on a huge winning streak, and I hope they do. But based off what I saw, small sample size, I know, but it just did not look convincing at all.
Sounds like Matt got his feel some type of way segment out of the way early this
Yeah, I won't
this
have to
week.
do
I don't
one.
know what he's gonna if he has any say for that.
I won't have to do one. I'll just say go re-listen to the first 15 minutes. Of the
Rewind
podcast. Okay, enough of that. I got that off my chest. About to go. About to get out of here. Let Braden take first. But OSU looked pretty good. Did what they were supposed to. I thought.
Resounding win over a powerhouse Southeast Louisiana program.
Perennial powerhouse.
Perennial powerhouse. I'm so indifferent on that game because I hate playing FCS teams. I don't think you can tell a lot about. I mean, if you lose, you can tell a lot about your team. But
As an OU fan, I wish we would have played an FCS team now.
people laugh at the FCS schedule. But hey,
Yeah, and that whole thing's kind of like a weird thing to me. It's like if you lose, oh my God, you're terrible. But if you win
Yeah.
convincingly, it's like, oh, well, they just played an FCS goal. Well,
yeah.
they did what they were supposed to do. So
Yeah,
I don't.
players
see-
don't make the schedule. You just gotta do what's in front of you.
Exactly. You did what they were supposed to do.
But with that being said, we had the big storyline for OSU coming to the year was the offensive line play. Would it get better? You would hope it get better because you have all those guys coming back, all that experience. And I watched that game. I was there. I just was not impressed at all. It was a 6-1-7 win, so you take the win. But just from what I saw, you're expecting if you're playing a team like Southeast Louisiana, you want to have holes so big a truck could drive through, and I didn't really see it from my spot. I haven't even rewatched the game. I'm not going to because it's Southeast Louisiana. But I don't know. I thought Mason played. I mean, he played great. He didn't throw an interception, which is good. Nobody really played bad. It's just the offensive line wasn't, against an opponent like that. And I don't know if it's just like a motivation thing. I could imagine, starting off like that. But you do think that unit has something to prove, and they would want to take advantage of that every game. And so I was a little disappointed it wasn't better. But again, a win's a win. Defense, they run a triple options, and defense gave up a touchdown, gave up some big plays. But, a lot of new guys in there. We're losing Arba and losing Jimmy Bean. But the Jarrell Owens looks solid. He looks like he'll be a future All-Big 12. Secondary played pretty well. Couple miscommunication things. And then I was really excited to see
Right.
Barry Sanders play. And he did great. I thought, he was had a big punt return for a touchdown, or what it looked like a touchdown. It got called back at the one, where he was out at the one. But the running backs all are good. We're running like 5 running backs out there, which is don't really see that too often, but they all can play. They all, if the offensive line will block for them, they all can do things. The main thing about a game like that is you don't want anybody to get hurt. And Gundy did a pretty good job of resting the starters for next week when it bumps up a little bit in the competition department against Central Michigan. So he got a lot of true freshmen, some experience, and some of the second-string guys. But, yeah, I was just indifferent about the game. It's hard to get a lot from it. But, yeah, again, I hope the offensive line, maybe it's one of those things like you stoop down to your competition.
Yeah.
And next week, I'm not going to go ahead and say they haven't gotten better because they have. And, it makes sense once the season goes on, you'll just start playing a little bit more aggressive. And with the playbook, we didn't do too much either. But 1-0, so you can't complain. And now the real competition comes to town. And Central Michigan isn't great. They're not like a bad team, but they're like, it's not going to be a huge win for us, but they do have a pretty good quarterback, so that'll be a good test for the defense and the secondary. And that's about all I got.
There you go.
So I can't really complain too much about a win, but
Exactly. I didn't feel like you'd have a whole lot to say. You guys kind of did what you're supposed to do.
It's one of those things.
A little confidence booster.
Yeah, hey, sometimes you got to schedule those cupcakes just to get some of the.
Exactly.
And then as far as how I can project OSU based off that, it's hard to say because I definitely think they're a Big 12 contender, not a favorite, but coming into the year I thought they were definitely a contender. I thought OU and TCU, and then OSU just right behind TCU. And then TCU gives up 41 or maybe more to South Dakota State. And they were going back and forth all game. It looked like South Dakota State might have had a chance. So
then y'all were dogging on my Texas pick. I'm not
sold on Texas.
Huh?
I'm not sold. Because
hey,
Notre
Michelle
Dame
just comes in,
Notre Dame
just balls out.
What was Kelly doing? They were running those 2 quarterbacks the entire first half when it should have been. I forget his name already, but
Kaiser,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, he had 5 touchdowns.
He had all the points, all the drives that resulted in points in the first half were because of him. And I know Zaire. I know he's a great quarterback. I know what he can do with his feet. But it just seems like you just go, if it's on the road, just go with what's working. And,
exactly.
Kaiser wasn't making mistakes. They're nothing too big. And offense was just kind of rolling with him. And I don't know why they went away from it. It was a great win by Texas. I'm still going to hold off on the Texas's back because I remember about 4 years ago they played at Ole Miss. They hung a bunch of points on them, and then Texas was back then too. So I'm going to hold off on that, but they looked really good.
Yeah, all joking aside, I still didn't pick them to win anything. But hey, I mean,
contenders.
That Bouchel, he's not lacking any confidence. That he looks pretty good. He looks pretty good. Yeah, I mean, if I just keep going back to the Houston game.
Did you watch any other games that weekend?
I was pretty much done with college football after.
I had a lot of friends, a lot of OU friends that were like that. And I let them have their space. I'm not going to rub it in, but I understand. Listen, as an OSU fan, we don't have the expectations that there's a national championship. We haven't had that every single year the past, all these years. But I get the loss, how it takes a lot out of you. But I don't know if you saw it.
Especially, it's kind of like, it was kind of so deflating too because it's the first week.
Yeah.
You're like just psyched up that football's back.
And
then you're just, boom, brought right back down. Back down to reality. Back down to reality. Yeah, but Thunder basketball is pretty soon.
Yeah, I think I saw today 50 days until tip-off. So
God, can't come soon enough.
So we're almost there.
For the OU fans, can't
almost
come
there.
soon.
Get those Russell Westbrook jersey spot.
If you're Houston, do you say, screw the Big 12? I just beat your reigning champs.
Yeah.
I want something better. Come on. Come on, Big Ten. Come on, SEC. Come on, ACC. I would. Just beat your reigning champs.
And then,
see you guys later.
They beat.
Thanks for the invite.
Beat Florida State in the bowl game. Beat OU in the first game of this year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now it's kind of interesting to see how they respond. I know you don't want to talk about Houston right now, but it's just there's so many factors that go into the first week and then go on from there out that I'm not putting too much stock. The only thing I'm going to say about the first week is Bama is still Bama and even better than I thought.
Exactly.
So
they beat my USC pick though.
Yeah.
Badly.
It was 3-0 USC going to the second. So
I mean,
It's just,
there's promise there. There's
There's
promise
promise.
there. I don't know. Basketball season can't come soon enough. I just keep going back to that.
My Cubs are 41 games above 500, so I got
There
that to
you
fall
go.
back on if OSU loses at all this season.
There you go. That's what's up. So, this comes to our favorite segment, known in Houston as Some Type of Way.
Shout out Paul Wall, too.
Shout out Paul Wall.
Making the
The
grills.
All right, Braden. What's got you feeling some type of way?
Okay. Mine's a happy note this week, as it is every week. It seems like nothing really gets me too fired up. Maybe when OSU loses, but or the team I'm about to talk about loses. And I talked about them, I think, on the first podcast. But the Cubs have continued to look good. They're on fire right now at just the right time. They have, and the thing I really want to talk about is 2 years ago we signed John Lester. He's supposed to be our ace, and he is. But the thing is, then Arrieta goes out and wins the Cy Young Award. Kind of came out of nowhere. And then, so this year going into it, I'm like, okay, he's like the new ace. So, I feel like Arrieta and Lester, it's like 1A, 1B, It's like
Right.
you just have two aces. But I think Arrieta's he might go out and win another one. And then we have Kyle Hendricks this year, who, another guy, if you weren't really a Cubs fan, you might not know about him. And he's been like a solid pitcher for us, but now he has a league-leading 2.07 ERA, and that's crazy. It seems like the Cubs are just getting these pitchers going, and they're getting the best out of them. And this being September, that means the regular season's about to be winding down. I think the Cubs are going to get about 100, 105 wins. I'm only kind of nervous about the Cardinals and the Giants. They're both top two in the wild card standings. If that keeps up and they play each other for that wild card spot, Giants win, they're an even year team.
Yeah.
That's always nerve-wracking. I'm very superstitious, especially something like that. As ridiculous as it is.
It's not
And
ridiculous.
then-
Baseball is definitely a
It's baseball,
superstitious sport.
And then the Cardinals, we know the Cardinals, they're amazing, and they're never out of it, even if they're a wild card. So, but I'm really liking the Cubs' chances. I'm still not going to say definitively that they're going to win the World Series, but I feel better about it than I have at any point this season. I think we're just getting hot at the right time. Chris Bryant's on fire. I think he's the MVP. He's looking really good. And I'm excited. And so once playoff time comes around, I'll probably be still feeling some type of way about that.
There you go. There you go.
That's what I got. That's all I got.
I like it. All right. Well, what's got me feeling some type of way? If you want the negative bit, you can just restart this and listen to the first 15 minutes or so. But I'll do a good note. I will do a good one since I've been negative this whole podcast. I'm gonna go for soccer. Manchester United is my favorite team. They play Manchester City on the 10th of September, and I will be waking up at 6:30 in the morning to watch it because I'm dedicated. And both the teams are at the top of the table right now. 3 wins, no losses, so it's going to be a pretty good one. Looking forward to it.
Okay.
Exactly. That's pretty much all I got. Just looking forward to it.
Who's winning it?
United. Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely Manchester United. No way to lose
I
that.
hope for Matt's sake right now they win it.
Yeah, good lord. I need one.
Decidedly.
I need one.
Give
Please.
Matt this, sports gods.
I need one at least, please. But that's about it. That's about it for us. I wish we could go longer, but we can't anymore because we are has-beens.